Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second class on Welcome to JavaScript. I will start with sharing my screen so that I can show what I'll be talking about. Share. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So today we're going to start with describing some programs before the break, and after the break we're going to speak about some concepts of naming the variables. So describing programs. We're going to do this in 4 steps. We're going to start with some very simple programs. I'm going to give some one or maybe 2 examples of a program that we're going to try to describe, and then you're going to get some exercise where you can do it with 2 or 3 people by yourself. So we have a very simple program here. It's like 10, 15 lines if you skip the white space, and we're going to try to do this in 4 steps. The first thing is we're going to try to just run the program and try to find out what it does. And in the next step, we're going to try to describe what it is doing without even looking at the code. So that's the zooming out. Just try to describe what the program is doing without even looking at the code. Try to run it a couple of times, see what it does, find some things we can do with it. And then in the next step, we're going to zoom in. We're going to forget for 1 second about what the program does and just look at the program line by line. I'm going to start this line. What does it do? What does it do? What does it do? That's the second step. Then the third step, we're going to zoom out again, and we're going to try to make some connections between the different lines. So we've looked at what the program does. We've looked at what each line does individually, and then what does, for example, this block of code, what does it do? We're going to try to put some connections between the lines of this block. And then in the final step, we're going to try to, for each block that we've described, for each connection that we've made, we're going to try to set the goal of that block of code. What does it do? So these are the 4 steps we're going to try to do. And for this example program, we're going to do it together. I'm going to try to make it a little interactive by asking you some questions, and then you guys can answer, and we'll help where necessary. So we have this small program here, and as the instructions say, we're just going to read and run the program a couple of times to get an idea of what's going on. So I think everybody is familiar with this type of editor, what it does. This has been used in the previous week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we used the past session. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to run the program and we're going to see what it does. So tell me something about frogs. So, okay, I'm going to say some frogs can be green. I'm going to press the OK button. It says to us, I just learned something cool about frogs. Okay. So we know that it will ask us for a fact about frogs, and if we tell them something about frogs, it will just say it back to us. Okay. What happens if we push the cancel button? That is not something. That's also true. We didn't give them anything, so it's not something. And it asks us again if we don't give them anything. Will it do it again? Yes. So if you push the cancel button, it will just tell us we haven't put anything in, and it will ask us again. Okay, let's try putting in something not about frogs. Dogs can be brown. It tells us, nope, not about frogs. Try again. Okay, another case, what if we just put in a bunch of ones? Also not about frogs. Okay, and then if we just put in frogs, that's also right. So now we've run the program a couple of times. Can somebody try to tell me what they think this program is doing? Just unmute yourself and try to tell me. Don't be shy.
Well, first of all, is asking for some input from the user.
Yes.
Then is assessing that content, that input, to see if it's what is expected. Is also sending back that input to the user whether it's correct or not, so that there is a response, right? And of course, there is two different responses if the input is what is expected or not.
Indeed,
And
that's right. I
and
think
it's also
that
getting into like some kind of loop, right? If you don't put anything in there, it's just going to keep asking you to send something to.
Indeed. So now that we've done step 0, we've run the program a couple of times. We've tried to analyze what it does. We can try to describe what it is. So that's the first step. That's zooming out. We're trying to understand what the entire program just does just by running it without even looking at any single line of code. So then they give us a couple of sample questions we can ask ourselves from what the program is doing to help us with analysis of what the program is doing. And then we can just try to make some basic statements and some test cases about this program. So what you see here, that can be called a user story. And that's like, it describes what users can do, what users of the program can do. So for example, here it says users can share cool facts about frogs. And then, so this is a description of what the user can do, but it also has some prerequisites of before this can succeed. So one of them is given that the user input does not contain the word frog. That's something we have tested. If I put something about a dog, it's not working. And if I put a bunch of ones, it's also not working. If I just put frogs, it does work because the word frog is in it. So that's what it's saying here. This is one of the prerequisites of this program, that the input has to contain the word frog to be successful. And then, given that it does contain frog, the program learns something cool. It just means it puts it back to us. And it also says from another thing, given that the user just presses cancel, they will be prompted again. And then this is basically what we've done ourselves, some test cases. We've canceled the program, and so it gives no output and the input is invalid. Given that it does not contain frog, this is what we've done with the ones and with the fact about the dog. Also no output, the input is invalid. And then what the other two we've tried with the fact about the frog and just frogs, it does work. So this is the first step. We're trying to reverse engineer what the program is doing by just running it and analyzing it. We try to write a user story and we try to write some test cases. And the user story is basically what the program can do, and then some conditions or some control flow ways, some ways that the program can go based on some given facts. Okay, now that we know what the program can do, we can move one step further and we can try to zoom in. So this just stays here, and then we're going to forget about it for 1 second, and we're just going to start looking at the code, and we're going to try to describe for each line what it is doing. Okay. The first line, it just declares a variable. It declares a variable and it initializes it with an empty string. Very simple. Next line also declares a variable and it sets it to false. And then we start at the while loop. And what does this line do? It checks if the input is about frogs. Okay, since it is set at false, it will just fire the first time because it has a not in front of it. So it will just start doing anything inside of this this while loop. Everything inside of here will be executed. Okay, so next line, what does it do? It starts with a prompt. Okay, it calls a prompt and it asks for something about frogs. And then also it will write the value that we type into the variable user input that we've declared here. Okay, next line. What does it do? It checks if the user input is empty. If we have pressed cancel, it will be null. And if we have, if we just press enter with an empty string, it will check.
Lorenzo, I think there are some questions. I see some hands raised.
I'm very sorry. Yes, if there are any questions, I'm trying to look how I can see everybody because I can only see 4 people, so I don't see any hands. But if you have a question, you can just unmute yourself and ask it.
Yeah, Yeah, I wanted to ask, what's the difference between an empty string and a null?
Okay, I will
Let's say.
show you. So if we run the program and we press cancel, then it will be null because we have literally given them nothing. We have not even put in anything. We've just pressed the cancel button. So we haven't them even given a string. But if we just put nothing and we press OK, we have given them an empty string. So we haven't given them no text, but still text. So it's just nothing, an empty string. But if you press cancel, we've literally canceled the operation. So we've not even given them empty text. We've literally given them nothing. You can see it as empty text versus nothing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to add also, an empty string is a variable. It's still a value, while a null is not it can be a value, but
it's a different type of value. If you have an empty string, so just the two quotation marks, it's still a string, but null is a different data type designed to literally represent nothing. So that's the biggest difference.
Basically like canceling whatever that is asking for is like not happening. Next.
Yeah. if you press the cancel button, the prompt function will return null literally. But if you press OK, it will return the empty string because it's still succeeded, but you've given it an empty string. If you press the cancel button, the prompt function, it hasn't even received the empty string. It has canceled the operation, so it cannot return anything.
Okay, and one more question then.
Yes.
In the first if statement, there is these two lines. I don't really know this assignment operator very well. That one, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is representing an OR. So it can be if this one is true, or this one is true, the whole thing will be true. You also have this one, and the AND operator, and then if this one is true and this one is false, the whole thing will be false. So it's with Boolean logic. So I will give some examples. So if we have false and true, this is equal to, this becomes just false. If we have true and true, this one becomes true.
Yeah,
and
if
then
you have
if
false,
we have false or true, it will be true. And if we have false or false, it will be false. So this is these are like
you got me with the third one. So false or true is true. Why?
Because it's that's the difference between or and the AND operator. If one or the other is true, it becomes true. And here it needs to be one and the other needs to be true to become true.
Okay.
That's I think how you can remember it. But or it's one or the other needs to be true, and with and it's one and the other needs to be true.
Yeah, both.
So for the result, it's both and here it's either one.
Yeah.
And that is how you can put some logic on multiple constraints, and then you can combine them with the and or.
False or false. So if I say true or false, it would be still true.
Yes, because either one of them is true, so both the result becomes true.
All right.
With the AND operator, it needs to be both of them. With the OR operator, it needs to be one of them.
Yeah, with the AND, it's more like a compound condition, so you cannot have half of it. Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then because you're wondering about the operator, do you know what this one does? The exclamation point. This is the not operator. No. So if I write not false, that's the same as true.
Okay.
You can invert the result to the other thing.
Yeah, it's the same you do with the exclamation and the equal sign as well, right?
Yes, that's where it comes from. This is not equal. And this one is equal. And then you also have this one. Does
Yeah, like
anybody know?
like
what,
absolutely
what-
equal, like
Yes.
or
So for example, I'll have to check it. So I'll put open the console to be sure, because I don't want to tell anything wrong. I think this one will be true, but this one will be false. Can somebody see what the difference is, or tell me what the difference
The
is?
difference between the first one is the value. I think one is the type of the variable. One
Yes,
is
that's very
string, one
good.
is numeric. Yeah.
Yes, I'm very happy that you said the word type, because that's the biggest difference. It's because JavaScript does not have types. Other programming languages do have that, but you don't have to worry about that for now. But it's a very important thing. For example, for security, some security vulnerabilities are because programmers use this one instead of this one, and then some text can be interpreted as a number, and sometimes that can give problems. So it's very important that you think about that. I don't think it's important for now for you guys, but it will be important later that you know the difference. And it's because here it doesn't check the type. It tries to convert this one to a number or this one to a string and see if it's equal. If it's equal, it's true. But here, because the type is different, it's directly false because the type is different.
So I would
that's
like to
also
add something to that. You should always use the tree equals, because the first one is it causes a lot of bugs. So
Yeah.
it's best practice to always use the second one.
Yeah. True.
Strict equality and loose equality, I guess.
Yes, indeed. It's indeed best practice to always use this one, especially for the things that you guys will be making. It's always the third one, so you can just forget about this one. But I wanted to tell you so that if you see this one, sometimes you know what it is and what the difference is. I think I've gotten all the operators now. You also have greater than equal and less than equal, but I think you already know about them. And I think I've gotten them all now.
Maybe
Okay.
the not operator.
Here.
Okay.
And then I think I've gotten them all. So is it clear for everybody what these two do?
yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. Any other
Others?
questions?
Yeah.
I guess not. Okay, I have found a way to open the list of students. So if you have a question, you can just put your hand up or something like that, and I'll see it this time. Okay.
Okay, maybe sorry. Now that I was
Yeah.
looking at the code, maybe just one last question.
Yes.
I was seeing some examples earlier this week. They use while, and then inside while if, and then they use else if, else if, else if, else. That's like the normal order I have seen so far. But I see that here you have two ifs. Is there a difference in that, or it's just like
Okay,
a syntax?
so you're wondering what the difference is between if and else if, the difference between those two, correct?
Yeah, precisely. Because
Okay.
in my head I was thinking like, oh, maybe the second one should be
Yeah.
an else, maybe.
Okay, so first we do this check, and if this check succeeds, so if either one of them is true, it will execute this, and then it will not even check to go in here because there is an else here, but it will check this because there is no else here. So as long as there are elses, if else if, else, it will only execute one of those.
The continue will go to the next part of the loop. It will go to the next iteration. So it's not completely true what you said.
Wait, sorry. If it goes in here, then it will not execute this, correct?
No, because the continue
Only
will
if it-
break out
yeah.
of the loop.
Yeah, with the continue. Sorry, I wasn't looking at this. Sorry. Yeah, ignore this. Bad
So-
example. I'm sorry. I will delete this one, and this will make it more clear. So if this one succeeds and it executes the alert, it will not check this anymore, even though it says true here, so it should be executed. It will not because of the else. It can only execute one of these. So we can do another one, if else something else, and then we can, for the last one, do this. So it will check this. If it is false, it will check this, and if it's false, it will check this. And if all of them are false, it will execute this one. But it's still, after it has done one of these cases, it will still do this one because there is no else here. You can see it as two separate blocks of each other. First, it will check if one of these things is true. It will execute anything that's inside. And then when it's done with this block, it will still have to check this block because it's a new block of if statements.
Condition. Okay. So basically the while and if and else block is like it excludes the one of the options.
It's
right,
indeed. And
but
some
if I want to check them all, there should be all if statements. Okay.
So in this while loop, you can see there are like two things that will be where one of them will be executed. So you have here, one of the cases will be executed because you have an else. So if all of these are false, it will be you can call it a global case, I guess. So this one, if all of these are false, this one will always be executed. And then as soon as it is done with this block, it has done one of the cases, it will still check if this is also true, it will also do this.
All right.
So it's like separate. Here it chooses a case and here it checks if this one is also true. So that's the difference between an if and an else if.
But
Is,
then
is
if-
that why you need to put continue at the end?
No, the continue is to break out of the loop. So it's a
Yes.
bit
Can I
confusing.
add something?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
As I understand it, if you use multiple else if means you have multiple conditions and you want every condition.
Mahmoud,
Your microphone is really
You're
bad.
breaking a lot. It's
Yeah.
really hard to hear anything.
And you
No.
at the line
I don't think he's
and
hearing
line
us.
means you have
Mahmoud?
Yeah.
Yeah, your
I think you
microphone
have
is
to put
breaking
your
a lot.
microphone.
It's
You have
not
to put it a
possible to
little bit
hear.
further from your mouth, I think.
I'm sorry. Is it clear now?
Yes, it's better.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. What I understand that if we use else if multiple times, that means that we have multiple conditions that we want to check it. So if we have, for example, condition 1, condition 2, condition 3, that means we want to test them together. So we want to use else if. Yeah, condition 1 and condition 2, condition 3. So we want to test all of these. And the last thing, if we don't have the last condition, so it will be else.
Yes.
That means
But
the other.
the important thing to see here is that it will only execute one of them.
Yeah, one of
So
them.
if
there is
condition
order.
1 and 3 is true, it will only execute condition 1.
Yeah,
In
and
this
there is
case,
order
it will only do
also.
one of them. Yes.
Yeah,
And the
and
else
also
is
there
if it. Oh no, go ahead.
What I want to say that there is order here that if you want to run the line 55, that means all of this will run first, and then to go to line 70, then it
Yes.
will run. There is order here, so there is blocks, two
Yeah.
blocks,
Yes.
one block for the
Indeed.
first if and the second for the second if. That's what I
Yes,
want to add.
indeed. So indeed, that's what I was saying. It's two separate blocks of if statements. So here it will do one of them. If it's not condition 1, not condition 2, not condition 3, it will do this one. But here, if this one is false, nothing will be executed. It will just go to line 78. So that's what the else is. It's if none of these blocks are true, it will do the else block, but this one is separate from this one. That's the important thing. Is that clear, Daniel? I think it was you who asked the question.
Yeah, perfect. And
Okay.
then I'm still not completely clear about the continue part.
Yeah, I was just here, so that's the next thing I wanted to explain. So this is a while loop. It will execute everything that's in here as long as this one is as long as the thing between the brackets is true. So it will, we have initialized this value to false. It will come here, it will check what's between the brackets. And here we have the not operator, the exclamation point. So we have not false, which becomes true. So because this is true, it will execute the whole thing. It will execute it. And if I go back to the original code, yes, we can see that at this point, we can change the value. So this can be used to go out of the loop, but the continue will go straight back to this. So if we come here and we have no input, what we have seen is it gives us that's not nothing, but it does not do this anymore. It goes straight back to the beginning and it prompts us again. So if I run it and we do empty text, it says that is not something. And then it comes at the continue. It goes straight back to here. That's what it does. And there are two, there is also another word. We also have break, and break will just literally break out of the loop. Then it will go to, I'll have to scroll down a little bit. Then it will go to here. So continue will recheck this one and will go back to here. Break will go out, will go to line 77 and just alert us. So for example, I will change the program now. And if we run it again and we do cancel, that's not something. And then we hit the break and it still goes to here. So you've changed the program. So do you see the difference between break and continue? And do you understand what it does?
Yeah. I see now. So basically continue is going to repeat the loop until the condition is met.
It will skip everything else in the loop and just go straight back to checking it. And break will literally what it says it does, it will break out of the loop and not check it again. It will just go out of it and go to the next line. Is it clear what it does now?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Don't be afraid to ask it. That's why we're here.
Others, do you have any other question? Do you understand what
yes,
it is going until now?
Is everything clear until now? Yeah, I see some thumbs going up, so I guess it's clear. Somebody said something, but it was very quiet. So can you repeat, please? I think it was Hans. No. Okay. Okay, then I will continue. So we were at this line. So this is the start of the while loop. So we check something. And as I said, with the negation operator, this false becomes true. So we will execute everything that's inside here. That's what a while loop does. It with the curly brackets defines the block of code that will be executed as long as this condition is true. Okay, we go to the next one. We have the prompt, but it asks us to tell us something about frogs. And then the next step, we check the input that we have. So it will put the input in this variable. We check it if it's empty or null. And if the user hasn't given us something, it will tell us, and then it will re-go and prompt us again. That's the next line. That's the continue. Good. Then the next block, it will check if the user input, it will convert it to lowercase. That's what this function does. And then it will check if that string includes the word frog. That's also what we have observed. If I put something about dogs, it doesn't do anything. But if even the word frog, lowercase, uppercase is in it, it will succeed. Then it will set this variable to true on the next line. And it will also, again, go back to here. But because if we then have, well, I guess I'm already making connections, so I'll wait a little bit with that. So this line will just change this variable that we have declared here to true, and the continue will go back to the check. Okay. If neither of these cases were executed, it will so if it reaches here, it will just alert us that nothing is about frogs. We have also seen that. And then as soon as this one becomes true, we will execute this one. It will alert us about the fact about the frog that we have given it. So this is the second step. Yes, the second step. We will look at every line of code, write a comment, telling ourselves or other developers, if you have written the code, what each line does. Then, as soon as we have analyzed each line by itself, we will try to make some connections. I've already made some, but let's go over it again. So I guess to look at the difference, the first line is just telling what the line itself does, it's still here. And then here we go and explain with what other lines and what the connections are with the whole program. So we can here see this variable is used to capture the user input from the prompt. You can write that too. And then in the next line, a Boolean flag variable used to determine when the IO loop is finished. Okay, that's all pretty simple. And then we start at the while loop. We're gonna look. So in the previous step, we just said this will start a while loop. Now we look at what is inside the while loop. We're gonna try to make some connections. So what does it say? This is the input-output loop where user input is validated. It will continue looping until the user enters something about frogs. So also, again, what we have observed. So now at this time, we're trying to zoom out again. We're trying to make the connections with the rest of the program, what is happening. Here, it will, the prompt, again, we fill the user input variable with what the user has put in the prompt. Again, now we check the variable, and if the user has input nothing, it can be about frogs. That's the bigger picture. In the previous step, we just checked if the user input was null, and now we try to make some more logic about it. If the user has input nothing, it cannot possibly be about frogs. Okay, and then at the last step, we alert the user with the fact of frogs they have provided us, only if they have provided us with the fact of frogs. So in the previous step, we've only looked at one line, and right now we're trying to make connections of this line to the other lines. Again, analyze the code and try to see the big picture again. Now we've just looked at the whole program itself, and now it's going to try again in the final step to divide the program again into blocks, and that's where the goals come in. So we have the first block. It's declare variables to store program data. That's what happens here. And I guess this is a small mistake. Oh, no. So we have one variable. The only thing that we really need to store is what the user gives us. And then the next goal is to gather user inputs. So we have to call the prompt function. What is the next goal? We have to check, did the user input something? That's what this code will do. Then the next step after that is, does the input include the word frog? That's then what this block of code will do. And if not, we tell them. And then the final goal of the program is, as soon as the user has put in a fact about frogs, we alert them what to do. So these are the 4 steps that we want you to do with some of the practice problems. So first, you run the program a couple of times, you try to analyze what it does, you try to reverse engineer what the program is doing, and you try to put it in a comment in your own words in like the form of a user story. This is a very important format because it is used a lot at businesses to write down requirements. So people who determine what an application or a website needs to do will try to put it in this format. Not all companies do, some will, but it's a best practice that they will define a requirement and give some conditions or some ways the control flow can happen. And then they give that to developers, to you guys, and you can try to make it. So this is a very clear way to describe what the program will do. And then they will also sometimes provide you with some test cases. Sometimes you can write them yourselves. So right now we're still going to try to do this ourselves. We're going to try to describe what the program is doing and give and try to give all the ways the control flow can happen. and also write some test cases. That's the second step, or really the first step. We run it and we try to provide this. The second step is we're going to read the whole program and we're going to tell what each line does. And then after we have examined each line by itself, we will try to put some connections from between the lines and try to zoom out again, try to see what the whole program is doing. And then we're going to try to divide the program into blocks. A block can be one line, but it can be multiple lines as well, and tell the goal of a single block of code. And then we have a very great explanation. It's almost, it's a lot of comments, but if you read all the comments of this program, you will have a very good understanding what the program does. And then if you have done that for a program, you can try the Ask Me option of the website, and it will ask you some questions about, this is an error, not important. It will ask you some questions about the program, and if you can answer them, I think you can say to yourself that you understand what the program does. So is it clear what we expect of you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. If you guys want, we can do one more together, but I won't answer the questions. I will let you guys answer the questions, or if it's also fine by me if we go into groups of 2 or 3 people right now. It's what you guys want. So I guess, can the people who want to do one more together put their hands up through Zoom, and then we can see if somebody still wants to do one together. I already see 3 people who put their hands up, so I guess we will do one more together. But there are still 3 people, yes. Okay, we will do one more together, but I will let you guys answer the questions. And then we can still help. So we'll do a modified version of the same program. It will have a small change. Yes. Okay, I will run the program a couple of times, and somebody tell me something to put in. You can just type it in the chat or something like that. It's all fine with me. Don't be shy. Give me something to type in the box. Okay, frogs are old. Okay, so it just tells us it again. Can run it again. Somebody typed hello. Nope, not about frogs. Try again. Okay, I think everybody can see that it's pretty much the same program, but there are some subtle changes in the code. So let's try to do it again. We're going to try to make a user story. Somebody tell me or type in the chat, it's fine with me, a user story, please. And I won't show you the old one because it will be pretty much the same, but try to put it in your own words, maybe a little different, what this program does. Can somebody describe to me what this program will do? You can also unmute yourself. You can tell me, or you can type it in chat. It's all fine with me.
Let me try.
Okay, Hans, give it a try.
Okay. The first line initialize animal name. That is frog.
A little bit of volume, Hans.
Hello.
Yes,
You
you're a little bit quiet.
Is it okay now?
It's better, yes. And Hans, you don't have to describe the lines yet. Just try to tell me in your own words what the program is doing. The whole program, without even looking at the code. Just try to explain to me what the program is doing, now that we have run it a couple of times.
This program actually prompts the user to write something about frogs.
Yes.
And
Okay,
it's-
so that's the first line. And then can you now give me some ways the program flow can go? What are some conditions for the program to successfully execute, and what are some ways the program can go? And remember the way it was given something. So given X, for example, program does Y. And then here we go, given A, program does B. So try to give me a sentence like this. Given something, the program does something else. Try to formulate a sentence like that if it's possible.
I don't know how to say, but giving the user input something else that is not from
Yes. Even the user input
the
is
program,
something not related to frogs. I'll put it like that, but I know what you mean. What does the program do then?
the program will prompt the user that what the user is entered is not about frog.
Yes.
And then it will ask the user to input something. It will I don't know if it will ask a question
Yes.
again.
Very good. Can somebody else give me another example like this one? With the given something, the program will do something else?
Take a look at the comments.
Ah, okay. Yeah. That's Ashinafi, I think. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but that's also correct. It's the same as this one, but again, you've given it in your own words, which is very good. It shows that you understand what the program does. Can somebody else give me this way of explaining what the program will do when we press the cancel button?
When the user presses cancel or okay without typing anything, it will give that's not something.
Yes, very, very good. That's very good. Okay, so let's keep it for this step at this. Somebody who wants to explain to me what this line of code does.
It declares and initializes the variable animal name.
Very good. And what does it get initialized to?
To a frog.
Yes.
To a string, right? The string frog.
Yeah.
And then it declares and initializes the user input variable to an empty string.
Very good.
And okay, yeah. So someone else can keep.
Yeah.
Going.
Okay. Yeah, this one is practically the same again. Variable is not froggy to true. This one is also pretty simple. And then can somebody tell me what happens here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Darlene was first. The other person can go next.
It will check if the variable is not a froggy, true, it will enter the loop.
Yes, very good. So it's the start of a while loop, and it checks if the variable is not froggy equals to true. Very good. Next line. I don't know. I wasn't able to see who the other person was, but can you tell me what this line does?
That line initialize from that the prompt tells the prompt message say, tell me something about frog. It returns a string that is input from the user, which the string is passed to the user input. The string is initialized to the user input.
Very good. The only thing I would say that was wrong about the expression, you said that it will return a string, and that's not always true.
Yeah,
As I said, can also return the null if the user presses cancel. But for the rest, it was. I think you understand what the line does. It's okay. So the next line, somebody I haven't heard yet. I see somebody else is also typing in the chat. Ask for input. Yeah, everything that you said in the chat is also true. Can somebody else tell me what this line will do?
It will show. It will check. Yeah, check the input. If it's
Yes.
the null, yeah, check the input and return that is not something. So
Yeah, check. It will check if the user input is empty or cancelled.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sorry,
And
just one
what
quick
will?
question.
Yes.
Oh, could you elaborate a little bit on what the prompt does exactly? Because sometimes I feel like the prompt is just a message, but also is asking for
Yes.
is like reassigning the value of a variable basically.
Yes. So I will try to explain that by explaining the difference between prompts and alerts. So these are two built-in functions of the JavaScript language, and it's built into browsers. So if I try to execute prompt, tell me something. This function, all it does is give me this. It will tell me something, and it will give you a field to input something with the two buttons, cancel and OK. So now I can tell you hello. And if I press OK, we can see that this function, the return value of it is hello. It will give me the string. But if I do it again and I will press cancel, it will give me null. And if I do it again and I give it empty, it will do this. So it's just a function that you can call, and it will give you back what the user has put into the field. And what's then the difference between the alert function? Here I can just type something like hello. And that's I don't have the input box and I don't have the cancel button. Now I just have the OK. So the alert function will just tell the user something, and the prompt function can ask the user something. It will prompt the user for input. That's the difference. Is that clear what the prompt function does? What it does?
Yep, thanks.
Okay. So because I've just explained it, it will these two or these three lines. I think we have also explained it by now. These this one will tell the user input is not something. And I guess here we also have the example with an else if. So I will make some space for a comment. Can somebody tell me what this line does?
In this line, in the user input, when the user input is actually declared as a string, it automatically inherits some values. If you inherit all the values of a string like I imagine string as an object, but it's not. I don't know. Inherit values from string. We have some functions like to lowercase, which turn everything that is inside the input to lowercase, and we have inside to lowercase. You can add more that is includes in the include
Yes.
function. So when
I'll try to explain a little bit more, because I think you explained very well that it inherits some values or functions because it is a string. So if we do like, I will just do some very weird casing right here. So this is a string object. On that string object, we can do to lowercase. And this will again return a string. So we have a new object, another string, but now this time it's lowercase. And because that also is an object, it also has the function includes. And then we can check if it includes frog. The only difference with what I'm typing right now, what's here, instead of literally typing the word frog right here, it uses the variable. So, but I think it was very good, the explanation that you said, because you said the word inherits, because it's an object of that is a string. It also has those functions. So I think that was a very good explanation. So can you put it again in one sentence what the line does?
Okay. In this line, user input inherits variables from the string object.
Yes.
Which automatically makes it an object because it's inherit. You know. And also the includes I don't know. The include returns true or false. I don't know.
Yes. So I would say the user input is converted to lowercase by the first function,
Yeah, yes.
and checked if the string contains the word frog,
Yeah.
which comes from the variable animal name. So something good about this program, like if you guys remember in the first time that I showed this program, I also tried to give a fact about dogs. So if I just change this word to dog and I run the program again, I can say dogs can be brown. Okay, it's still wrong here, but now the program succeeds with dogs. So that's something very good. If we don't have to change the program at different spaces just to change the animal. So it is a good thing that this animal name is put inside a variable. So there are some subtle differences, and also here again we see the if, else if, and else structure coming back. So it's also important, you can write the same program in a lot of different ways, and sometimes one way is better than another, but that comes with experience. Okay, can somebody tell me what we do when the user input to lowercase includes the word frog? What do we do then? I see somebody has also already put it in the chat. If this condition is true, then assign false to the froggy variable, which is a very good explanation. Just copy paste it. And then again, which is also very true, if none of the above case conditions are met, which is a very nice way of putting it, if none of these are true, only then this one is executed. Okay, can then somebody tell me what this line? Yeah, we have already discussed the alert. So tells the user their fact about frogs. Okay, so now we have an. Oh yeah, go ahead.
In that case, the alert concatenates the user input.
Yes. So in JavaScript, you can just put a string, then add another string to it, and then add another little bit. You can just add strings together. The plus operator with strings will just concatenate the strings. So what the plus operator does depends on what the type is. If we put 1 + 1, it will give us 2. If you put 1 + 1, it will give us 11. So that's the difference. If it's numerical, it will literally do addition. But if it's the variables are strings, it will do concatenation. So you can get some weird things in JavaScript if you put something like this, or no, it does the same. I saw some weird examples, so you have to watch out a little bit if you work with numbers and strings at the same time. It does not always do what you expect. But indeed, it can concatenate the strings. Okay, now we can try to zoom out again and try to add some more comments. I think this one is the hardest step to connect some lines to other lines. Can somebody give some more information on what this line does? What is the animal name variable used for, and where is it used in other places in the program? What are the links with the total working of the program? Can somebody give me that?
I don't know if I understand the question. You mean where the animal frog variable is being used in the program?
Yeah, so in the previous step, we just said that we declared a variable and initialized it. But now, can you tell me what the role of this variable is in the whole program? Where is it used? What is the purpose?
Okay.
Why do we need this variable for the program to work? What is the use of this variable in the bigger working of the program?
Okay, so it's used to make sure the name or the input of the user is correct.
Yes.
And
did they think back about the example that I gave with I changed it to dog and when I wanted to explain something?
yeah, that's
This
yeah.
also gives some purpose to the variable. What purpose does it serve?
I think the purpose of the variable is to compare every single inputs from the user to the animal name.
Yes, what I would say is it defines what animal we want some facts about. That is literally the purpose of this variable, because we use it to check the input. It defines what animal we are trying to get facts about. So now in the third step, and we're zooming out again, we're trying to link the technical information of what that line of code does to the less technical information of what the purpose is for the whole program. And the purpose of the whole program is define what animal we want facts about. And indeed, then this variable gets used to check the user input. So I would put defines the animal we want facts about used to check user input. Okay. Daniel, can you try again for this line?
For the empty string?
Yes.
Can
you try to tell me?
It creates a variable to, or yeah, it creates a variable to store the user input.
Yes, very good. That's very well put. It's literally what it does. Okay, somebody else can try to tell me what this variable is used for? Maybe somebody I haven't heard yet. Don't be shy. No? Okay, anybody who wants to
I
This
think
variable
Darin was
is-
speaking.
Is it to enter or to leave the while loop?
Yes. So yeah, it is used to enter or leave the while loop, but can you put it more in like terms of how the program is the not so technical, it's used to check what to check what?
Whether the user input contains frog or the animal name.
Yes, used to check if the user input is correct. So indeed, it is used to enter or leave the while loop, but the while loop is but not so technical use of this variable is to check whether the user input is correct. And if the user input is correct, we will leave the while loop. So it's important in this step that you're not only trying to look at the code and what the variable does for a code or what the line does for the code, but also for the bigger picture. We're trying to zoom out again to try to explain what some lines do for the bigger picture of the whole program. Okay, this one will maybe a little bit harder. Can somebody tell me what this what the while loop does for the bigger picture of the program?
It will enter the loop till the user is not till the input sorry is not correct.
Can you repeat that, please?
While the input is not correct, it will stay. It will enter the loop.
Yeah. So the purpose of the while loop is as long as the user input is not correct, it will keep asking them. So again, I think you're a little bit too focused on the technical side of things, or on what this while loop does in the code. But if you go zoom out again, it's to keep asking questions as long as the user input is not what we want. Okay, I think we will have to speed up a little bit because I still want you guys to have some time to practice these problems. So I will skip the rest of the lines for this step and we'll try to find some goals for this program. So I will divide it up into blocks, and then you guys can try to tell me what the goal of these lines are. So if we group these lines, what are these? These lines. What is the goal of these lines?
Initializing variables.
Yes. So we're trying to make some variables where we can store the user input, the animal name, and for our checks. Okay. Then these lines. What is the goal of these lines? Or even I can just, in this case, if it's because it's with the else if, what is the purpose of this one line or block of code?
Asking the user for input and saving it.
Yes, indeed. And then maybe we can take a bigger block this time because it's with an if, else, if, and else. What is the purpose of this one? It's a little bit different than the previous example.
Making sure the input is what is expected and give the user some feedback about it.
Yes, I would say that this whole block is trying to decide what the next step should be, because this time it's in an if, else, if, or else. This gives us 3 cases where we can do something. It really decides what the next step in the program will be. It will either be alerting and going again, setting the variable so we can escape the loop, or alerting again and going again. So it decides what the next step will be. So in these two cases, it will ask another question, but tell us what was wrong. And in this case, it will literally set it to false and escape the loop, and we can move on. And then this block of code, again, it just tells us the fact about the frogs. Okay, are there any more questions, or is it at least a little bit clear what we expect from you? You can just put your hands up in the chat or something like that, if it's clear. Give me a thumbs up if you've not fallen asleep yet. Okay, I see a lot of thumbs. So now we will break out into separate rooms with 2 or 3 people.
Two people. We have 14
2
students, so I'm going to make.
Okay.
I have made a group of 2, 7 group.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Here
So
I
do you have a
shared-
group list as well, or does anybody have the link to?
Yes, in the main channel, you can check which group you are
yes.
and assign yourselves depending on the grouping members. I will stop recording now.
Okay. Okay, so somebody was asking me how the for loops work. He gave me the example of filter words. So right now I'm making some examples of the different kinds of for loops, and then I can show them to you. Okay, I will share my screen again. The right display, yes. Okay, participants, so I can see the questions. Yes. Okay, so somebody was telling me, so these are my examples, don't really mind that yet. But somebody was telling me that it was this for loop that you don't fully understand, correct? I don't know who it was again that asked the question. Yes.
The one.
Okay. So there are 2 kinds of for loops. It can be the same as the while loop that we saw in the other example, but the for loop is more for when you know how many iterations you want to do. So here I have a for loop that I can basically rewrite it as a while loop. I'll try to do that, and then I can compare the 2. I think that will make it more clear. I think that will be the best explanation I can do. Okay, so I think we all know what this while loop does, but I'll put some comments in and I'll try to explain. So first we create a variable I and we initialize it to 0. Declare variable I initialize to 0. Then we have a while loop where we check if I is less than 5. Okay, if so, we print I to the console. And this is another operator. I don't know if you know this one. I++. Does anybody know what it does? Has it already been explained?
It means I equals I plus 1.
Yes, very good. Yes, so this is just it adds 1 to I. It is just a shorthand way of writing it because it's faster and programmers are lazy, so they want to go fast. So we increment I by 1. Okay, so basically what this will do, I can put it in the console and execute it. It will just print 0 to 4 because we go less than 5 and we start at 0, it prints I first time, increments it to 1, checks again, still less than 5, prints 1, and I think it's pretty clear. Okay, we can do the same. So this we can do the same with a for loop. And a for loop starts with, we have a for where we have an initial where we declare something. Then we have what is this symbol called in English? Semicolon. Then we have our condition. And then we have most of the time this is incrementing, or the final statement, I'll call it this time. I don't know what it's called in the programmer terms. And then we have here a block of code. So we start with, we declare I is 0, so same as here. Then we have the condition, also the same as here. And then we have the final statement where we incremented also the same of here. So basically we've moved some statements around and the code block is the same. So where you would do something at the end of a while loop, you can just put it here. And the variable that you want to use in your condition, you can just put it here. So the different use cases for these is, right here, we know we start at 0 and we're going to go to less than 5. So we want to execute this 5 times. We know before we're writing the code, how many times we want to execute this console.log statement. We know we want to do it 5 times. So it is better to use a for loop. If you don't know how many times you want to execute it, for example, we want to check if our input contains the string frog. We don't know how many times the user will do it wrong. We use the while loop. So for this case, to just print the numbers to the console, I would not use personally a while loop because we know how many times we want to do it. But in the other example where we want to check if the string contains the word frog, we do it with a while loop because the user can do it 1 time wrong, can do it 2 times wrong, can do it 1,000 times wrong. We don't know beforehand. So that's when we use a while loop. But in theory, these two, so these 3 lines of code and these lines of code do exactly the same thing. And then with for loops, you also can have a for each loop. So here we have an array of numbers. Are arrays explained already last week? Do you know what those are?
It wasn't explained yet.
Oh, okay. So we can also, inside of a variable store, you can see it as a list of numbers. It's called an array. It's written like this, array of numbers. So where we can like store multiple values in a single variable. So we have, and you can access those numbers by their index. So I'll make another let names equal, and I'll use the names of the coaches, Lorenzo, Arno. I'll just use 3 of it right now. So, and if I now do console.log names at index 0, it will be my name. It will give me my name. But if I do console.log names at index 1, it will give me Arno. So now right here, I'm asking for the 0th element because programmers count from 0 because it makes a lot of things easier. It gives me the 0th name. When I ask the first one, it gives me Arno. And if I ask the second one, it will give me Thibaut. But this also makes it easier to like loop over all of them. And that's what's happening here. You're saying every element of this array, we're looping over all of them. So we know again that these are 5 elements, but we want to loop over all of them. So for example, I have 1,000 numbers here. I don't really need this I just want to loop over all of them. That's what this does. So let me just copy it again. and execute it, it will do it for all the numbers. It will loop over all of them. So that's a small difference between those two. Here you work with a counter and you check it. Here you just say, if I have something I can iterate over, just do it for all of them. So that's what's happening here. So they say we have a sentence that probably, so I'll just, what does it do? So it enters a sentence with at least 2 words. It splits the sentence into words, I guess. And then it loops over all the characters of the sentence. So you have a sentence of a lot of characters, just loop over all of them. Do something for each character of this sentence. And then it checks if the character is a space. And then it does something about them. I haven't looked at this program yet, so I don't really know what it's doing. But I guess
You have a question?
does this explain what the for loop does? And Aviv, yes, I see you have a question.
Yeah, so I understand now. Thank you for explaining the for loop, but
Yes.
now I'm a little bit confused because we didn't define, or we declared character, but we don't define it, or we don't assign it until the next line.
So we don't initialize it here. Here we use it for a check, but this line, basically what it does is it loops over, and right here already, character gets initialized with the first character of the sentence. So every time we come here, so we've done executing this code block, it jumps back to here, and it will initialize the character variable with the next value. It does it for you.
Okay.
Does that explain it well, or are you still not fully convinced?
It's just I'm not sure at what point did we assign the value for character. This is the first time that we see this this variable declared.
Yes, so that's the thing. Maybe I'll use this example. So we declare the variable I, or the variable character, right here when we start the for loop. So, and then the for loop will initialize it for us. So the first time it will initialize I with 0. The next time it will initialize I with 1. And the next time it will initialize I with 2, and so on. So the declaration and the initialization happens right here at the same time. And every time we go through the whole block, so we start with the first character here, we go to the whole block, character gets reinitialized with the next character of the sentence. So declaration and initialization happens right here. And it happens every time when the loop comes to the end, it happens again. You re-initialize it.
Okay.
Does that explain it better?
Yeah. I think I understand, or at least I understand the principle.
Okay, so you can also just open the inspect element, and you go to console. You can try to play with it, and then I think if you try some different for loops, I think you will be it will understand it even better. You can try to play with it a little, and if you have any more questions, you can then ask us again. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. Just what
Okay.
iteration means?
Go over each element. I iterate over this list of numbers, so I go over each element one by one.
Okay, so basically reading the.
Yes. So, but the thing is, it's one by one. I iterate over it, so I start with 0, then I go to 1, then I go to 2, or here I iterate over it, so I start with Lorenzo, then I go to Arno, and then I go to Thibaut. So I iterate, it's step by step, one by one.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? I guess not. So during the next week, I would highly advise you to try to do some more of these exercises, because it really shows that you can understand what some code means. But now we're going to go into a break. Jalila, I don't know how long the break will be now, because we're going a little bit long.
Yes, we're going until 14:30. We'll come back on at 14:30.
Okay. And the next
Before-
part will be a little bit simpler to explain, so it won't take that long.
Before we stop the call, can you show us with the emoji if it's understandable or if you feel lost? Thumbs up if you understand everything until now. Lorenzo, can you stop sharing so I can see everything?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
And if it's a little bit scary, you can also share the open mouth emoji if it's too much information. Oh, that's good.
Okay, Aviv, Summer. I'll write down the names.
Thibaut.
Thibaut.
So,
What are we doing in the second part?
Trying to understand the importance of what to name your variables.
Okay.
That will be the second part.
All right.
I'll stop recording now.
Okay, welcome back. So in the previous part, we tried to analyze a lot of programs, and one thing that made it easier, I think, was the variable names. So right now we're going to talk about the importance of variable names. So I will share my screen again. I think this one shared. Okay. All the people who think that this would be fun to analyze can put a thumbs up, and everybody who thinks this won't be fun to analyze this program can put the scared emoji from like the beginning. So are there any daredevils who would like to think it's fun to analyze a program like this, where the variable names are like _A, _B, _C? I think it won't be fun to analyze. It will be easier if we have something like something like this, where the variable names display what you want to do. So what we're going to try to do, we're going to still try to analyze some programs like this. We want you guys to give better names to the variables, and we're going to do two types of naming. We're going to take some generic names. That's this tab. So for example, we have this program, and it will ask us for some input. I'm just going to run it. So it says enter some text to Frogify. Lowercase f will be replaced with frog, and uppercase f will be replaced with uppercase frog. So if I do FFF and 3 big Fs, it will give us frog for frog, frog for frog. And so that's the same program as with the non-descriptive names, but we will try to convert this program into something like this. So we first have the generic names that just describes what the variables do in the program, and it could be used in any program with similar logic or behavior. So if we make a dog program that does the same, we could still use the same variables names. So what they propose here is that we change the _A to input, because it is used to hold the input that the user gives to us. So I think that we can say that the prompt, how you put it into input instead of _A, is a lot clearer, and it describes really what the program will do. So, and then the second way we want you to transform the programs is with specific names. So again, names of our variables that describe what the variable does in the program, but this time specific to this program. So here you would not be using input for like you won't use this variable for the same program that does, but with dog. You will not use to be frog, then you would use to be dogged, for example. So this is like the two things that we want you to do. Take the exercise programs and try to transform the variables to clear names, but generic ones and also specific ones. And I think after you have analyzed 2 or 3 of the non-descriptive programs, some like these, so you'll have to do the same analysis that we did in the previous part, but not so extensive. Just run it a couple times, try to see what the program does, maybe add some comments of what each like here, try to analyze what each variable does, where it is used, maybe write some comments, and then try to change the variable names to something useful. So it's less theory that I have to explain. I think this is better used to do just an exercises. So I think we can just reopen the breakout rooms and we will come and check if everything's all right. Is everything clear? I'll first ask that. Are there any more questions about what you need to do?
Maybe you could show them which exercises they have to do.
Ah, yes, that's a good idea. So it's under naming variables. I showed you this one. So here you have the helpful, generic, specific, and unhelpful. You also have them here, but you'll start with the unhelpful names. So it just gives you again with the underscore A, underscore B. There's an underscore in front of every letter so that you can do replace all very quickly. And then I don't think anything is in here. So yeah, just try to rewrite the program. You can just copy paste it or something and change every name to something that's descriptive. So you can do as many as you can, and we will help you if necessary. Is that clear?
Aviv has a question.
Yes, I see too. Aviv?
How do you do a replace all?
In this editor, I'll have to look for myself. That's a good question. I think you can just right click, change all occurrences. What you select one, for example, the underscore A, you right click it, change all occurrences, and then it will.
Yeah, just type something.
Then you can just, for example, input. That's how you can do it.
Thank you.
Okay. So good luck. Are there any more questions?
Are we going on the same groups?
Yes, and please try to
yes.
stay in the assigned groups. If you create a new Zoom code, is a bit not easier for us to come there. So
try to use the breakout rooms that we provide. That's indeed easier for us to join.
yes.
You can also see then if there's already a coach in a certain group.
Yes, awesome.